You know, folks, if I had a dollar for every time someone said to me, Brando, how in the world did we get here? How did we end up not just electing Donald Trump once, but we did it twice? How in the hell did that happen? If I had a dollar for every time someone asked me that question, we could all retire and we could all just go off on a cruise and forget about it because that truly is the $1 million question. And there's a lot of people since the election that's been trying to figure out how to go about picking up the pieces and making it all make sense. I grew up right on the state line of Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. I can be in all three states in like 10 minutes. I grew up over on the Kentucky side. I was born on the Tennessee side, grew up over on the Kentucky side in the home of Lee Majors. And I grew up around people who struggled, and I struggled right along with them. My dad drove a coal truck and then later on drove a log truck. My mom would clean houses for people or take a part time job from time to time. And we still stood in government cheese lines. We still, even though they were both working and my dad was working two jobs at times, we still at times had to depend on the government to get through it. And it was really rough growing up. But when I saw the Republican politicians coming along talking about morals and values and how much they loved us, luckily for me, I had a mom and an uncle who would point to their voting record and would say, "Hey, look, their voting record don't match their rhetoric. They've never been on our side. They don't give a shit about us." So I was already preconditioned before Donald Trump come along to as Eric Swalwell would say, have a bullshit detector. I seen through it a long time ago. I seen through the grift of the local politicians and the ministers and everyone else who was grifting the people that I loved and grew up alongside of. So when I saw a billionaire celebrity apprentice host who has never one time in his life struggled, never had calluses on his hands, sweat on his brow, never walked down a dirt road, never put in an honest day's work in his life. When that dude went to West Virginia and put on the coal mining hat and flexed, give the thumbs up, I was deeply offended by that. But there were a whole lot of people in my part of the world that cheered and could not understand why I wouldn't cheer right along with them. And over the years, I've told you why I wouldn't cheer right along with them. It's very easy to look over at Trump supporters and say, listen to what this man's saying. He's a moron. He is an idiot. He is playing you. He is causing you to vote against your own interests. He does not care about you. Watch how hypocritical he is. Hey, let me show you this clip of him criticizing Hillary Clinton for taking money from Qatar. And then let me show you this clip of him over here taking a $400 million plane. Can you not see that he's crazy? Can you not see that he's grifting you? But no matter how many times that I do that, there's still going to be those that goes, yeah, but I still trust him more. I still believe in him more. And so it comes down to why. Well, I believe Ben Meiselas absolutely nails it in this next clip. And so we're going to go to this clip. The Meiselas brothers were being interviewed by Katie Couric. And Ben just absolutely hits the nail on the head. And as I was as I was listening to him say what he says in this clip, I was saying to myself, yep, this is exactly the people I grew up with. Take a look.
People feel pain right now, and people want answers about why they feel pain. They can't afford a home, and they're seeing rich people with 10 jets and mansions, and they can't afford a home. They don't know if they're going to be able to. We have to listen to people and what they're saying. Democrats, people, listen to what people are actually saying to you. People are suffering out there. And I think that they're getting easy answers from right-wing media about where their suffering is coming from. They're being told the immigrants are doing it to you. They're eating your cats and your dogs. And that sounds stupid to a lot of people, but people want an easy answer about why they're feeling pain. And when you can blame a marginalized community as they're doing it, and then somebody comes in and says, I'm going to make you rich. I'm going to make you the richest person ever, just like me. You're going to be so rich, you're not even going to know what to do with how rich you are. That message resonates with people who are suffering. It's built on fraud. But you combine the lies with a right-wing media network giving you a simple answer, and that connects with people. Now, how do you combat it? You have to combat it by pointing out that that's a lie and that's a fraud, but you also have to provide solutions, and you have to speak to people's real human condition. You have to look somebody in the eye and you have to say to them, I hear you. I listen to you. I understand what you're going through. And that's when, we could talk about the podcast bros, the media ecosystem, but ultimately, whether this massive funding machine, they're pumping easy answers by scapegoating the other and making people understand, oh, that's why I'm going through this. And that's not why they're going through this. They're going through this because people like Trump and other people are the ones doing it to them, inflicting, that's what's causing it. And they've managed to, the people who are causing it has managed to convince the people they're inflicting the pain on that they're helping them, and they're not. And so the antidote to that is also simple messages.
See, the reason why that Donald Trump resonated is because he just gave simple answers. And I know what a lot of you are thinking, but they weren't truthful answers, Brando. They were bullshit, Brando. Yeah, we realized that. We realized that everything he said was a lie. We realized he never intended to ever do anything for the people he said he was going to do something for. But he gave them a simple answer, and he just pointed and put the blame on someone else, because that's what people were looking around for. Like, why is it so hard for me to get through this world? Why is it so hard for me to be able to afford a house? Why can't I afford a house? Why is it so hard for me to be able to put food on my table? Why is it that I've got sick and now I'm going broke? They were asking all of these questions. And Donald Trump came along and just gave them a real simple answer. It's immigrants coming across the border taking your jobs. It's gay and trans people trying to live their lives. It's the Democrats. The Democrats must have done this. And the Democrats didn't do themselves any favors by coming out and talking about the policy and going into paragraph 3 and breaking down section 3, verse whatever. They didn't do themselves any favors by that. They also didn't do themselves any favors by simply ignoring places like where I'm from. Now, back in 2018, 19, somewhere through there, I don't remember the exact year, Trump was in office. It was during his first term. I wrote a song about a coal mine that's not far from where I live. It's called Black Jewel. The song was called Black Jewel, White Lies. It was kind of one of my, maybe the second or third song I ever had that kind of went viral for a minute. What happened was the coal company refused to pay the workers. And when they did, the miners blocked the railroad track and was like, well, then you're not going to take this coal out of here if you're not going to pay us. And so they had a big standoff. And I wrote a song about that from the miner's point of view. I've never dug coal, by the way. I've never been underground, but I grew up in a family that did, and I understood their anger and where they were coming from, and so I wrote that tune. And then I got invited up to play for him, and I went up there, and this was during Trump's first term, and I talked with him, and I got to know him, and I played my song for him, played some other music for him, while they sit there at this picket line, basically, while they sit there and protest. But as I was talking to them, I never will forget several of them saying to me, yeah, man, Trump ain't answering the phone. And back then, Andy Beshear wasn't the governor yet. They're like, the governor ain't answering the phone. Like, he's not answering the phone. But Andrew Yang talked to us. And, hey, Bernie Sanders sent us some pizza. I know they're Democrats, but hell, at least they done something. And I never did forget that moment. I never forgot that moment of, we don't like Bernie. We're not really his biggest fan, but at least, they sent us some pizza. And one guy would say, well, now I don't know if it was actually him. It was somebody from, his camp, but at least they did that. And that's pretty much it. At least they did that. If you want to reach people and you want to help them to understand, you absolutely do have to keep calling out Trump's fraud and keep calling out Trump's grifts and keep calling out Trump's lies and keep pointing out all of his hypocrisy. But you also just have to stop, take time, talk to him. At least do that. At least sit there and have the conversation. For far too long, Democrats will go out there, they'll go to a swing state, they'll talk there. If they dip their toes into Tennessee, they might go to Nashville, or if they dip their toes in Kentucky, they might go to Louisville. But they don't never go to Southeast Kentucky and stand right in the middle of that. If they would and tell why, I believe they would get better results. And I can back that up because Governor Andy Beshear in Kentucky has been elected twice now during the Trump years, during COVID, passing legislation that helped the LGBTQ crowd and vetoing anti bills against them. And he did it. And you know why? And you know how he was able to pull it off? Because he came out and said why he was doing it. It's my faith. It's what I believe. I believe I'm going to bat for all of Kentuckians. I believe I believe that standing up for people is always right and bullying people is always wrong. And I have traveled Southeast Kentucky as a musician for 20 years. And I've sit on bar stools and I've had all kinds of conversations. And during all that time, I ain't never heard not one person in Southeast Kentucky say that Mitch McConnell was a great guy. They've never said that. I've never, as a matter of fact, if I sat and talked about what a crook he was, they would agree with me wholeheartedly. Where they pump the brakes is when I say the word Democrat, then it's like, well, at least he ain't a Democrat, because that's what they've been taught to believe. Now, Andy Bashir comes along, and I can't count the times that I've had conversations with people going, well, I know he's a Democrat, but I can't help but like him. I mean, at least he did that. At least he helped us. At least he showed up. At least he talked with us. So I really believe that that's a big chunk of it. If the DNC sits back and just grooms one person to be it and forces that down our throat, we're fucked. But if people will get out there, and we've got a broad spectrum of people over here, we've got a way broader range of ideas over here. If people will get out and share all those ideas and share all those experiences and explain to people why we stand for what we stand for. I don't stand for the minimum wage. I stand for a living wage. And I believe that, that living wage should be to where people can feed their families comfortably and not have to worry. There was a time in the 1950s when dudes would work living wage, minimum wage jobs, whatever you want to call it. They would work those and they would take their family on vacation and they would buy a house and retire with money in the bank. Everything has gotten too out of whack, and there's way too much money in politics. There's way too much going on. So we need to get out there and explain, we want you to be able to live in this country and not have to worry about paying your bills. We want you to be able to focus on your job, focus on your family. We want you to understand that if you get sick, you're not going to go broke, because we're going to have universal health care that'll help you. The people down the street, the gay couple down the street, or the trans person down the street is not affecting you and your livelihood in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So forget about that. And stop looking to these billionaires who wouldn't wipe their nose on your Sunday best. You can do it all. You can say why that they're fraudsters, and you can also say why you have the better ideas at the same time. But just talk to people. Just speak up and talk to people. That's basically it. So yeah, I'm part of the Midas Touch Network, and I'm proud to be. I was really proud of Ben in that clip, because he just knocked it out of the park, and it's an honor to work alongside him every day and do what we do. And we're going to keep pushing forward, not just for democracy, but for people and for people's rights and for people's lives to be made better. And we believe that we have the better ideas, and we're going to keep telling you why. And yeah, we're going to keep pointing out the fraud and the bullshit from Trump, because it's going to keep flowing like water. It's going to keep pouring out. We're going to keep calling it out, and we're going to get through this nightmare. We'll come out on the other side. But remember, just simple language. Just talk to people. That's pretty much it.